All right. What's up, guys? Nice to get you guys logged in. We're going to start in just a second. What's up? All right. I like to give everybody a chance to log in. Also, if you want to start posting questions, this is basically going to be just a nice Q&A. I like to pull a podcast from your guys' questions because I think that's probably what, brings the most to you guys over there. So, all right, cool. Sweet, my computer's going to die too. All right, so this is what we'll do. We'll go till my computer dies. All right, cool. All right, we're going to get started. Here we go. One sec. There's seriously always technical difficulties. Okay, we're just going to start the podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this live. There's a few things I want to talk about at the beginning. You guys got your questions going, so I'm excited to see those. We're going to do this. I wanted this to be a little bit more of a kind of a casual hangout more than a quick podcast. Not that it's going to be a long time on here, but at the same time, I want to take my time and just really answer your questions and collect some content for Instagram and also my audio podcast and all of that. So with that being said, first things first, I have some classes coming up. If you guys don't know that I do hands-on classes, I do them here at the studio. I have one coming up March 4th, which is a razor cutting class. I got a few tickets left. And then our class at the end of March sold out. So thank you guys, those of you guys that bought tickets for that. Also, FSE On Demand is live and running. Hopefully you guys are taking advantage of that. It's a free platform. It's an app. The videos that I make for YouTube go on there, but also other brands are posting content as well. So we're really collecting and sorting through other brands' content. And I'm only putting up the good stuff. So things that I think will bring value to you guys, that's what we're putting up on FSE On Demand. So hopefully you're taking advantage of that. Again, it's free, and it's an app. And so sign up on the website, fseondemand.com, and then go download the app on any device you use, and you can use that platform. We also have an update for the app coming out hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I think. It's a completely different look, but it's even better. So I'm excited for that as well. Tons of people logging in. Super excited for that. I want to start off by answering a few questions that I got on Instagram, just to kind of get things going and things that I think are kind of important discussions for us to have. And then I'm going to go through your questions as well. All right. So the first question is, that thinking differently about being an educator. So the reason I want to talk about this subject, and those of you guys that are educators for manufacturers or you're just educators in general for the industry, there's a couple things that have come up this week that I really want to just get out there. I've had a couple educators that have been in the industry for a long time reach out to me this week. And the biggest question is they want to get away from the traditional. Well, actually, it kind of went a couple different ways. So the first thing was they wanted to get away from the traditional working for a manufacturer. So that was the first question. And a lot of people are seeing that now I do work with manufacturers, but I just do it in a little bit different way. I don't work for one manufacturer. And my goal has always been to just provide education, and then whatever manufacturer wants to help out with me doing that mission, then that's what, I'm going to do. So, so my advice to this person was, not to focus so much on not working for the manufacturer. I think, it's not as black and white as just jumping from whatever job you have, whether it's working in the salon, working for a manufacturer, whatever it is, and you want to do something else. For me, it's always start doing that other thing before you move on from the current thing you're doing, right? So if you're behind the chair and you want to do more online content, or you want to travel more and do hair, like whatever it is, start focusing on that, but do it on the hours that you're not doing hair or in between clients. Like, here's the thing that I hate the most. Like, a lot of people are out there and they're talking about they want to do something different, but at the same time, in the break room, you're wasting your time. Like, you're not necessarily playing games, but you're looking at other people's Instagrams, whatever you're doing that is not bettering your career. That, to me, doesn't make any sense. Like, I have always, in between my clients, I was building a website. I was editing videos. I was editing my, whatever it was that I wanted to kind of further my career in, right? So that would be my first thing, is whether you want to leave a manufacturer or you want to work less behind the chair, or the many things it could be, start focusing on your downtime on the new thing that you want to do. And then that will give you, eventually it'll take over and it'll become more and more. So like, I was working 4 days a week behind the chair. Then I was editing and I was building the website and all of that stuff in between. And then it slowly started to take over. I was doing less behind the chair, more, educational work online. And it just finally has gotten to the point where I'm 1 day behind the chair. And even that day is difficult because my time is consumed with the thing that I really wanted to do, which was education. Right. So, and that's the thing that makes me the most happy, is being able to create something, put it out there, and get your guys' reaction. That's the thing that I've found makes me the most happy with my job. And the fact that I get paid for it now is, the greatest thing ever. So whatever it is you're looking to do, something else that you want to do it in between, and don't waste your time during the day. If you don't want to do it at night, if you don't want to work all night, do it during the day in between your clients and start building it up. So that was kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about. Hopefully that, brings something to you guys. I know there's all walks of life that watch this channel. So hopefully you get a little bit from that. The next thing is, I get a question constantly on Instagram, YouTube, everything. When I put out a video, there's always a question. So, for instance, I put out a video that talked about the classes that I have coming up. And on that video, it's flashing. It's like, class in New Hope, Pennsylvania. Like, there was all these things, all these details, the date, all of it. And then in the comments, I'm constantly getting questions like, where is the class? When is the class? And it's like, people. So here's what I want to say. And I think that hopefully this will push you guys a little bit. Those of you guys that aren't this type of person, there's so much available out there to figure things out. Like, so my thought would be, and I think this will help with that jump of trying to do something different. Let me see. I just want to make sure that this is still going. So I heard that weird sound. Yeah, we're good. All right. So for instance, the reason I'm saying do some research, really figure things out, is because if you want to change your job or if you want to shift to something else, you have to start doing some research. So the reason that I can put out audio podcasts sometimes without too many problems, or I can edit video, or I edit photos. Like today, while I was working, I was also playing in the background videos that have to do with photo editing because I'm not very good at it. So, and there were things I wanted to learn about it. So, this part of the podcast is just figure out whatever it is that you think you want to do, whether it's just get more clients or whatever it is. Google search for learning that subject. Or if somebody posts something about a class, just dig a little bit deeper to figure out for yourself what things are, because nobody's going to hold your hand in figuring these things out. So that's kind of the only thing I want to say about it. There's not much else to say. If you have questions, like, let me know, but it's more just you have to learn to figure things out and to dig up the research, because then you're going to learn how to do what you want to do, and whatever that is. Building clientele, Facebook ads, Googling, things that, that you could learn in a class. Like you could have a class coming up at the next hair show and you're like, I want to learn social media, but it's only going to be an hour-long class and you're probably not going to take that much home from it. But if you just Google Facebook marketing, you can pull up some things and you'll take one little piece from that quick, whatever video it is or whatever, and you can use that in your salon, like right away, building clientele or marketing towards different people. So that's the advice I would give you for if you want to grow on social media or you want to grow your clientele, whatever you want to do, just start searching for exactly what it is. If you don't know what it is, just think of a question you would ask and ask Google, and then you'll get results from that. Okay. Yes, I am taking questions from YouTube. So let's see. All right, now we got a bunch of questions, so here we go. Andrea, she's asking, best way for growing my clientele. Is Instagram really the best way? No, Instagram is not the best way to grow your clientele. I think a lot of people, Instagram's such a big world. Instagram is great for marketing yourself. And I do think people do a lot of research on Instagram to find hairdressers nowadays. But the biggest thing to build your clientele is word of mouth, one at a time. And people are always looking for the quick way to do it. There is no quick way to growing your clientele. Some people do it faster than others. And the reason they do it faster than others is because every single client that comes in, they focus on that client, and that client refers a friend. And the better time that your guest has in the chair with you while you're working is what is going to make your clientele grow quickly. Why do you think that people that have been doing hair for a while, like people that are more experienced, they go to a new salon and it doesn't take them as long to build their clientele? Do you think it's because they do better hair, or do you think it's because they have the system down, even if they don't know it, the system down to basically win the client over, and the confidence, and they give the client exactly what they're looking for, and they build that experience, and then that client talks about them. What happens is we get out of school, we lack the confidence a little bit. We don't know the strategies of making the client have a great experience. So then in turn, we don't build our clientele as fast. It takes a few years to build a clientele, when it only maybe takes 10 months to build a clientele when you're more experienced. So think about those things when you're building a clientele. Instagram is a great thing. It's a must, I believe, this day and age for showcasing yourself. But I don't think that it's something that will help build your clientele it will help, but it won't be the number one. So when you're trying to build a clientele, focus on the experience that client's having, and then they will tell their friend, and then focus on their friend's experience, and then they will tell a friend, and it's a big. So this is what happens: one person talks about you to a friend. Now you have 2 people talking about you, and then you have 3 people talking about you, and it just grows. And then eventually, after 6 months, you've got multiple people talking about you, and your book starts to grow faster and faster. So focus on the experience, and you'll be good to go. Let's see. Best. Dea says, what do you think about coconut oil on the hair? I say no, but the debate in the salon continues. Honestly, I'm going to be 100% honest on this one. I don't think about that. I don't know why. Like, I get there's a craze for coconut oil and using it on certain things. But like, I'm more focused on the things that I currently have that are definitely for my guest, like, whatever the manufacturers are putting out that have been tested on hair. Those are the things that I recommend to my clients. So I don't put coconut oil on the hair. If a product line comes out with it, and I know that this is like, some people like to push that, and like to test things and like to find cheaper ways to do things. I'm just not honestly that person. So that's a hard question to answer for me. So your debate continues, unfortunately. All right, Haley, ideas to keep traffic flowing in the salon. I live in a military town, and majority of my clientele had moved away or are in the process. Oh, and my computer died. But all right, so if you live in a military town and people move away often, I'm gonna pull up the chat on my phone. Let's see. There we go. Let me find your question again, just so I know that I am answering it correctly. Okay. Moved away or are in the process over these last few months. I've gone from being booked a month out to each week is sketchy. All right. So I've never lived in a military town. So I don't really know, like, from personal experience what that's like. But I guess my recommendation would be, like, so it depends on how military your town is, I think, to give you like the most honest answer, because I would target the not military people that are also there, unless you're on the military base. But other than that, there's got to be other people, would be my thought. Like, it can't just be military. I mean, I guess it could. So I don't know. I haven't lived on a military town, but my initial thought would be to market outside of that. People will drive to get their hair done. That might be where Instagram comes in a little bit. Being able to portray yourself on the internet as somebody that is the kind of the top hairdresser in your area. And that's based on imagery, right? And maybe video, but probably a lot images. And make sure that you stand out, because if you stand out, and you're obviously booked in advance for a reason, then I would really focus in on people that aren't military, and maybe figure out how you can target people from certain, like on Facebook, you can target in certain directions, so you don't have to target just military people. Like, you could target, let's see, like certain school districts, or something like that. Like, just, I would finagle your way around. I don't know your town, but just figure out how you can target people, and then go one by one, and just make sure that your clients maybe start a referral program or something like that. That's tough without knowing a little bit more about your situation, and you could try to post that, but that would be my thing, is just try to target through Facebook ads or whatever people that aren't just military. Let's see. Would you recommend cutting your own hair? No, I wouldn't recommend cutting your own hair. Even I cut my own hair occasionally, and I only do it because I'm not around a lot of people and I'm mostly on video. So I can make these sides look pretty good, but the back, let me fix the camera. Should be coming back. Okay. But I can make the sides look pretty good, but at the same time, the back looks terrible. There are very few people that can cut their hair well. So I think cutting your own hair is a terrible idea. To me, cutting hair is an art. There is right and wrong ways to do it. Body position, all of these different things, balancing weight. So I don't think it's smart to cut your own hair to save some money when you could really get a great haircut. And even if you're spending a good amount of money on it, it lasts a few months, right? So maybe drive a car that is less of a car payment so you can get a haircut because you're seen in your hair all the time and your car not so often, right? So people spend a lot of money on cars. I don't, but at the same time, like they see you driving it, but they don't really see, like, other than that, there's no reason to have a nice car, right? Unless you just enjoy the experience. Your hair, you have to have it all the time. So I think it's smart to invest the money in your haircut. All right. Let's see. Heather, I'm in beauty school. I have a hard time with the 45 degree and 90 degree. What can you give me for tips? So this is like an interesting question because going through beauty school, I just feel that the way that beauty schools teach haircutting is like the world is flat, right? So basically, off of a flat plane, if this is flat right here, then you have your 45 degree angle, and then you have your 90 degree angle. So I just feel like the head shape is moving so much. So what I would focus on a 45 degree cut would be where the head shape is, how it's curving, and then just really look at that angle and clean sectioning is number one. So section your haircut out, really focus on that. I think that people should basically, before you even cut a mannequin head, you should section it for a month, right? So like a lot of people, they get a mannequin head, they spend a lot of money on it, and especially if you get a good one, and they cut it off right away, and then you can't practice anymore. The most important thing is to learn to section hair and to comb hair the right way, and to be able to move the hair where it needs to go. So even if you had a mannequin head and you're working on a 45 degree cut, and you don't actually cut that 45 degrees, but you hold your finger angle there and you pretend to cut it, and then you take another section and you hold your finger angle there and you pretend to cut it, I think that is probably the most important thing you could do as a hairdresser. So that's what I would do if I was in school, out of school, whatever, is just practice combing and sectioning, taking a little bit of hair, combing it out. I used to sit on the couch and work passing my scissor and my comb back and forth in my hands. And that's a serious thing. I actually did that because I wanted to get better at it. Like, if you think about sports and people that play sports, they practice their footsteps, their movements, like their timing and everything. We call ourselves professionals in the hair industry, but a lot of us, like, we go to school and we take that title after 10 months of a professional, and then we don't learn much after that. So my thing is, I'm trying to push people to just think a little bit more. Like, you should be constantly learning more and more things. I just did a bob haircut that I studied before I put it on video, but I really wanted to get this like really kind of cool curved effect to it that I didn't know how to do before. So, and I wanted to learn it. And I've been cutting hair for 14 years, and I study a lot. Like, I obsess over hair. So I think it's really important to do those things. I know that doesn't help you with 45 and 90, but 45 and 90 don't matter. It's more like learning how to put hair where it needs to be to cut it. So practice your angles, and I think you'll be a lot better. All right. Let's see. Dennis, I think. All right. Hi, I'm 40 years in the business with 2 salons, had 120 and 1 for 5 years. Okay. 1 for 20 years, 1 for 5 years. Find it increasingly hard to find enthusiastic trainees who want to work hard and learn. How do you motivate staff? Here's where I'm getting with this answer, because I think this answer has evolved through time. I used to say education motivates people. I think there are certain people that are motivated people, and then there are certain people that aren't. And then there's the in-between that sometimes need a little bit of a kick. And I'm getting to the point, and I'm not quite at that point, but I'm a person that I can tell if you're motivated or not. I want to work with motivated people, and I'm not going to try to make you motivated, because there are motivated people out there. So I think the best way, and one thing that has helped over the years, is just not being afraid to let people go from your business because they're not like the least motivated people, or people that are motivated for the wrong reasons. Just being able to let people go, because I found that when you do let somebody go from your business, that it changes the mentality sometimes, and most of the time for the good. And so that would be kind of my thought, is if you feel like you're growing an unmotivated group, then sometimes you have to be pushed into motivation. It's not about, I used to think it was about giving people more and more to keep them motivated, but that just causes a problem, I think, in the long term, which is what I'm learning. And now I think people just need to earn. Like, people need to want to get better, and those are the people that I want with me. So as being a salon owner is a journey, I think, and you've done it for a long time as well. Like, me and my wife have owned a salon for 10 years now, and it's been up and down with motivation. And the number one thing I think I've found to motivate people is to change the scenery, based on either staff or just the scenery, like literally, so that would be my suggestion. All right. Let's see. Looking for questions. Okay, so Smita, I believe, mine is a very thin, and she's very thin and fine hair. Please show the haircut for such hair, which will give bounce for my hair. Here, I think this is a great question, because I'm not going to give you the answer that you want, but I think people are always trying to do things with their hair that their hair doesn't want to do. So in this case, this person has very fine hair. They want big, full, bouncy hair. It's not a reality. So I think that this is something that, working with clients and being an educated stylist, there are tricks that you can do for the night to make hair feel full, right? We all know that. But clients think that there's a magical thing that, and I think this is just through too many years of us just saying stuff, but clients think that there's like a certain way to be able to just take thin, fine hair, give it a certain haircut or color, and it's just going to fatten up and become this shape. That's not really the case, right? So we have to re-coach people and tell people benefits of the hair that they have. If you have very thin, fine hair, you could do some really cool shapes with that haircut. Not shapes like build it up, but strong lines. Somebody that has like super thick hair, and then you do this really strong line. Once they go wash their hair and then they try to blow it out, it just explodes because you don't get it. They don't get it as smooth as you do. Somebody with really nice fine hair, you can cut that line and it just stays. So sometimes I really like fine hair, but you have to tell the person the benefits of having the hair that they have and show them different styles that go with that. That's where I think we're making our mistake, is not just embracing what the client has and telling them that we can give them what they want just to make them happy. When in the end, you're going to make them more happy if you could just, you're going to make them more happy if you could just show them something that can actually happen. Give them the truth. That's what it's about. All right. Matt, Jennifer, Matt, do you remember your first cuts? Looking back, how did you feel about them? And how did you build your confidence early on? All right, so my first cut and building confidence early on in my career. This is one of those things that I think is a little bit tough, because I have never really, there's only one time in my career that I can tell you that I really lost all my confidence. And that was, so Christina is my fiance of lots of years. So I had first met her, and I was really confident coming out of beauty school. Like, even in beauty school, I was pretty confident. And I think it's because for some reason, cutting hair, it always just kind of made sense in a way of like weight distribution, I guess. There's a lot of things I didn't know about it, and I never really pretended to know everything about it, but just being able to, like, let's say I pull the hair towards me, I knew that the weight would fall away from me. Like, that just always, like, it just made sense. But when I got out of school and I moved away, and I moved 1,000 miles away from where I grew up, and I met Christina, and she wanted this Keira Knightley, like, really cool, like, if you guys remember that, short. It was really short, had a disconnected top. I've done it 100 times on the channel since then, but it had this really cool, like, swing bang over it, and she wanted that cut. And I went into it with 110% confidence, and I messed it up so bad. And she was such a good sport about it. Like, a good sport in the fact that she didn't stop seeing me, and we're still together at this point, but it was bad. It was really bad. And I remember being in that cut and just sweating, getting nervous about it. So that's definitely, like, lost my confidence on that. But at the same time, I've always had the feeling of hair grows back. Her hair grew back. I never cut it that short again. And she's got super thick hair too, which is another thing. If she had fine hair, it would have been an easy haircut. I didn't take into consideration she had the thickest hair on the planet, and I really messed up the haircut. So that, with that being said, you know, I lost my confidence in that cut, but then learned from it. I started to try to figure it out. And definitely as it was growing out, I made adjustments to it. So I got to learn a little bit more on her hair of how to make that style work. So there's always ways out of it. Now, I did make a post about people and their confidence and everything, and just be confident and don't worry about, like, it's hair and it grows back. But at the same time, like, some people were like, well, it grows back, but it's somebody else's confidence that you're working with. And I get that. But it all goes away. Like, so you can't worry about messing up. If you worry about messing up, then you're bound to mess up. Like, focus on, in my whole life, I've focused on what I want out of it more than what could happen to me if it got messed up. So, so just don't think about a whole lot. Go into it and just be confident about it. And if you mess something up, then learn from that and grow. And that's how you become a great hairdresser, is like figuring out things. That's why I like being an educator, because you figure out things that you don't know how to do, but then you go learn it so that you can teach it. And then there's something else that comes, and you just learn it, and then you can go teach it. And you're exposed to more things. When you're an educator, you always have to be on top of things. So you're always trying to better yourself. When you're behind the chair, especially in a small town like I grew up in, no one's pushing you to really need to get better. Like, you do a great haircut, so that's good. That's good enough. So you need to push yourself to want to be the best in that area, and not just fall into your comfort zone there. All right. Hope you guys are liking this. I'm just going through. I should probably edit some videos so you guys have some new stuff coming out, but I like answering these questions. So Jay Greenwit says, where does he get his mannequin heads? Pivot Point is where I get all my mannequins. And most of the time, guys, I buy them. Sometimes they send them to me, which I'm very thankful for. But a lot of times I do buy them. And I like working on a mannequin because for me, and for you guys as well, it's kind of talked about a little bit earlier, but working on a mannequin for me is like the most relaxing. Like, I was very frustrated with something that happened this week. You know, it happens because we're all people. And instead of like, some people get angry and they do things, whatever. Like, I did a haircut for, I think, 2 hours, which is the video that I'm going to be putting out. I spent 2 hours on that haircut. It's probably going to be a 12-minute video, but I spent a long time cutting it because I wanted to. And it took me to a place of like, just relaxing, and really focused on my sections and took my time. If I had a model there, they get antsy. I don't want to be with them that long. Like, it doesn't work. That's why I cut mannequins all the time, because you're getting the best I can give you because I get to take my time on it and really show you guys things. So Pivot Point, great mannequins. They're not cheap, but like I said, don't cut them right away. Spend time combing and sectioning and doing all those things. The other mechanics that happen during a haircut, you should focus on that. All right. Susan, I really miss your Wednesday nights. I miss them as well. But to be 100% honest, I really like doing these. I want to start bringing in some of the guys and gals to be a part of this, and to kind of be a part of the conversation. But at the same time, it's kind of like the motivation part of everything, and just, you know, having people that, you know, at the end of the day, it's just sometimes becomes a little bit more, it's a different environment. And so we do it for a while, and then when it becomes not as fun anymore, we shift and do something else. And so Wednesday nights were fun, but at the same time, they were getting not as fun. So we like hanging out with you guys, but we're hairdressers as well, like you guys. And so at the end of a Wednesday, they've been doing hair for 8 hours straight. And, you know, we were sitting down, and it just, people have lives, and, you know, so we'll get back to it. We always go back to it. We love it as well, but it's just good to take a little bit of a break from doing it every single week. So that's why I fill it with this, because I like doing this a lot. All right. What's the best way to build up your supplies, colors, toners, and such? I feel like it's getting super expensive. So this is Mindy. How to build up your supplies, color, and all that. It's expensive. So here's my answer. Supplies are super expensive. I actually in the salon, we don't, this is like, I think something that comes up a lot in salons, and it's harder for if you're, let's say, a stylist and maybe you've never had to purchase the order. But as a salon, the revenue comes in the salon. The revenue comes in, you're paying the rent, you're paying the electric, you're paying all that stuff. And then the supply bill is pretty outrageous. And for the amount of profit, and we're not going to get super technical on this, but I just want to kind of try to explain. It's not a bad thing. It's not we're salon owners and, there's not enough money, whatever. Like, that's besides the point. I'll tell you my thoughts on salon ownership in a minute. But from a supply standpoint, when you pay all that other stuff, the profit margin on a salon is very small. And the supply bill is pretty big. And a lot of times you're buying retail on top of that you want to stock the shelves with. And when you buy retail, you're buying it with the hope of selling it, right? And so I think what happens is you're investing in that. So it's hard to keep the other supplies that you're constantly using. And then stocking your shelves with the products that you're hoping to sell, that most of the time it's the top products that sell, and then the other things kind of sit, but you're constantly investing in it. And if you pay your staff on that supply or whatever, then there's even less money to reinvest. So it just becomes a difficult thing. So my answer to you is, our shelves are not always stocked, right? We run out of things as well. I bet you that's the case for some salons. Maybe some salons buy on credit, but that's not something I'll ever do because I don't want to be in the hole for my supplies. So I buy what I think we'll need, and then sometimes you run out of stuff, and it happens, and then we place another order. But it's just, that's the way we've always done it, and it works. Now, our staff might say that we run out of stuff sometimes, but it is the reality. And sometimes you have to figure out, well, what's more important to have, and just stock up more on those things. And I think that's what we've been fine tuning for a long time, is like, what are necessities and what are nice to haves, and then just kind of stock up on the necessity part, and then the nice to have, you keep some of that. But that would be my suggestion there. All right. Let's see. If you keep asking questions, I'll keep going through them. Let's see. Can you discuss gray coverage and root touch-ups with highlights? So this is Mary Beth. Can you discuss gray coverage and root touch-ups with highlights? Like, they don't want to do highlights every time, so I feel like I'm always lifting through permanent color. So, Mary Beth, my first question would be, are you always lifting through color with lightener or bleach? And so that would be my first question, because that might be the case. But you could also use, like, there are tones out there now. I know Joico has something that's like the dimensional deposit, comes in a tube, and it does way better gray coverage, but it's not super permanent. It's a demi, so you wouldn't be lifting as extreme. I've never really had a problem with my clients that do have that gray cover, like have the gray hair, but I cover it with color. Like, I don't really get banding or anything, as long as they're coming in often, right? So that would be my conversation with them, would be, all right, guys, or guy or gal, if this is what you want, if you want to highlight and we got to do your touch up, and you don't want to do highlights every time, then you got to come in more often so that I'm getting that highlight in. Or just say, you can't. Like, you have to get the highlights every time, because I don't want to be coloring over too much of the hair color, if that seems to be a challenge for you. For me, I've never really had a challenge lifting that hair color out of, like, let's say my client's 80% gray and I put a touch up on her. and she comes back, I have never really had a problem lifting that color out. But usually if they're pretty gray, I'm going a little bit lighter with the tone as well. So lighter tones don't seem to be as hard to lift out. So again, this is one of those questions that I think there's multiple answers for. And I don't know your situation 100%. And I don't know, is this one guest that you're thinking about or lots of them? So in general, I think you just highlight over it, but make sure they come in often. And then that way you're keeping up with it and they're not like painting 2 inches of root. And then she comes back later and then you paint more root. And then you're trying to highlight over like, this much hair, like 2 inches of hair, and hair color. Then I think you might have a challenge, but as long as she's coming in often, you should be fine. Do you think there's such a thing as doing too much continuing education? I love to learn, so I don't think there's such a thing. So Pendragon, I don't think there's such a thing as too much continuing education. I think you could maybe consume too much of the wrong thing. So it's just important to really know that the person that you're taking that continuing education from. I also think you need to invest your money smart. So some people don't have unlimited budget to keep continuing education. So if you're talking about going to classes and stuff, then I would really do my research and make sure that the person that I'm going to see is, the best for what I'm looking for. Especially, and this is another thing too, lining up questions. Because I just did a hands-on class last week, or a couple weeks ago, I think, here. And it was cutting a bob class. And I had one person that flew in from LA, which is a 5-hour flight. She flew in the red eye at 5 a.m., landed an hour away from here, drove here, took the class, then drove right back to the airport and flew home. But they did one of the most interesting things I think somebody's done in one of my classes. They came with a lot of questions. And that's something that I've never really thought about, but is such a valuable thing, because when you go to somebody's class, they're teaching whatever they're teaching, but you get what you get out of it. Because it's like, let's say you're with me for 6 hours, you're going to get something out of that for sure. You might get a few things, but are you getting exactly what you wanted, right? So coming with questions ready. So while you're doing the haircut, like if you have this challenge with cutting a bob and you know that class is about it, you write down your questions. And then when you come to the class, you're coming prepared to learn exactly what you wanted to get out of it. That's, I think, a number one thing that you should do going to an education class is making sure that you come prepared with the questions that you want to learn in that class and share them right away. So then you get the most out of your money, because hands-on classes are expensive and you want to make sure that every dollar you're spending is worth it. All right. Susan, you're welcome. Let's see. When using scissor over comb method, do you always hold the comb at a 45-degree angle? So this is for Michelle. No, I don't. So when I'm doing scissor over comb, I don't always use a 45-degree angle. I really cater that angle to what I'm looking to create, right? So my blade, the blade of my scissor, this is going to be really bad because these are the only scissors I have. Why I have these right here? I think I was cutting a wire or something. So the blade of the scissor, I keep steady, right? Do not use these scissors to cut hair, by the way. I don't know who's watching. This is not a hair cutting scissor, but the one blade stays steady, right? Now, if I have my comb at a 45-degree angle, when I go to place my blade up against the comb to cut, I'm also cutting that hair at a 45-degree angle, right? If I turn it to a 90-degree angle, I'm cutting it at a 90-degree angle. So as I'm blending the hair up the head, or I'm running my scissor up the head to cut, I shift my comb to whatever weight distribution I'm trying to create. Because even if, whether I'm holding the hair in my fingers at a 45-degree angle, or I'm holding it at a 90-degree angle, or I'm holding my comb at a 45 or 90, it's the same effect. I'm getting graduation, I'm getting layering. So do I want to build that weight line up, or do I want to just go straight up and... There we go. That tells me that this podcast has been going for a while. Or do I want to remove that weight as I slide my comb up the head? So that's how I base it. So no, I don't use the same angle all the time. I shift that angle back and forth. All right. Last one. Last question. Let's see. Yeah, technical difficulties. Thanks. Michelle, you're welcome. All right, last question. Shenanigans. Here we go. I'm really struggling to pick out a school. They have admission fees too, not very much money, like $100, but I'm wondering if you know if I'm able to use the financial aid to pay for the admission fee. How do you pick out a school? So I'm going to be 100% honest on picking out a school. I had no idea anything about beauty schools. So when I decided to go to beauty school, it was recommended by somebody I worked with, detailing cars at the time. His wife worked at a beauty school. I called that school, and that's where I was going to go. But then when I went there to visit the school and get a tour and all that, they didn't do financial aid. So that's not where I went. I didn't have the money for beauty school at all. So I needed financial aid. So I went to another beauty school that did have financial aid that was right down the street, and that's where I signed up. I really don't think schools are important. Schools are super important. It's important to have a good experience. I would go with the cheapest school you can find. And honestly, like, financially it's terrible, but like, because if you get the wrong thing, like, just pay as much as you can on it so you're not stuck with it forever. It's not that it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but it's not if you can figure out how to pay extra on it to get it away from you, you're going to be better off. But go to the cheapest. I would go to the cheapest school if I could do it, and I think I went to the cheapest school, but if I had to go to school again, I would find the cheapest one that would get me out the quickest, and then I would study so hard while I was in there. I would watch every video I could. I would practice. I would buy a mannequin head, or you get them in school. I would take those mannequins and I would do what I said earlier in this podcast, and that's what I would do. And I wouldn't spend a ton of money on school, because it's not the school. School will help you, but at the same time, schools don't, in my opinion, help you get a better job. It's you that can get whatever job you want. I went to a beauty school that was the cheapest, I think. It was all financial aid. My first salon job was 1,000 miles away from that school, and I got the job, and we never talked about my school once. I got the job because I was constantly practicing, and I was showing up at hair events because I wanted to help and I wanted to learn, and I met someone that owned the salon at that hair event. He was the speaker, and I moved to work for him because I wanted to better my career. So that's what I would say is just, I don't know if the $100 admission fee is included in financial aid. I would figure out how to get the $100, and I would pay that admission fee or whatever, but I would do that, like, do it to the, just take advantage of the time, because the busier you get behind the chair, the harder it is to take time to learn, especially if you're not doing it outside of work. So keep learning. I think that that's what happens. Like, hairdressers get so busy. After 10 years of doing hair, you're just packed behind the chair. They don't raise their prices. They don't free up their time. They stop learning. Not everybody, but some people, like, they just get overwhelmed. It's not that they don't want to learn. I can't imagine anybody doesn't want to learn. They don't feel like they have the time. And I think that that's what happens. So you need to make sure that while you're in school, take advantage of every second that you have to learn to be better at this job. And the way you do that is by following things like Free Salon Education. On YouTube, you can learn stuff. There's so many companies creating online education now. But definitely FSE On Demand is free, and I'm getting more and more companies to sign up as time goes on. So hopefully it'll be the largest free library there is on the internet soon. So, all right, that's that. I have to go. I have to go edit some videos. I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A session. I hope you guys... Let me see. Shenanigans. It's a funny name. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Kristen, thanks for jumping on here live. I know you miss Wednesdays. We will bring them back eventually. Cool. All right. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I will do this again soon, and make sure you follow on Instagram at Free Salon Education if you're not already, because I cut up all these little clips and we'll put them onto Instagram so you can watch them and consume them a little easier than sitting on here for however long we were just on. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon.